You're listening to Flip Empire, the show committed to helping real estate entrepreneurs who want to build their empire without sacrificing their life. Your success and freedom starts now with your host, Alex Pardo.
Trade your expectations for appreciation. That was said by Mr. Tony Robbins, and I want to go ahead and kick off today's show by sharing with you some of the notes. I'm just going to go ahead and jump right in here. I have been listening lately on my walks. I've been listening to Tony Robbins' new book called Life Force, which I highly recommend. Anything Tony Robbins related, I recommend. I'm a big fan. I've learned a lot from him throughout the years. And sometimes when I go on these walks, I listen to an Audible, I listen to a podcast or a YouTube video. Sometimes I just do a think walk where I unplug from any type of phone or device and I just think. And this particular time I was listening to this book, and there was a couple things that struck me that he said, and I took down some notes and I wanted to share it with you. So I, by no means am I taking any credit for this content. I'm just being a conduit because I really believe that we need to be a vessel for quality information. In fact, that's the reason this podcast exists, is so that I can share with you things that I learn, things that I've experienced. Doesn't necessarily make it right or wrong, but hopefully pass it down to you. And because I believe it's had an impact on my life, whether it's positive or negative, I want to go ahead and share that with you. So several things that I wrote down on this 45-minute walk from this book. And I started today's podcast episode with that quote because it struck me and it was very timely. Trade my expectations for appreciation. And the reason it was so timely is if you've ever gone through a rehab, if for fix and flip investors that listen to the show, you can relate, you understand the challenges, the trials, the tribulations that go with a rehab, going over budget, managing workers, things going wrong or going south, or you're trying to fix something else breaks. Well, my wife and I, we bought a house in December and we've been going through the process over the last 4 months to do a full gut rehab. And fortunately, I have a good team of people around me that have handled a lot of the heavy lifting, but we're kind of getting to crunch time now where hopefully we're going to be moving in the next couple of weeks. And when you start, you got to be very hands-on when it comes to the details and the finishes, right? So over the last couple of weeks, this house has kicked my butt. It's taken a lot of time, energy, and attention. And I have found myself in a place where even internally, I find myself sometimes complaining, or sometimes focusing on what's going wrong versus focusing on how far we've come, the fact that we're almost there, and the fact that, now we're going to have a beautiful home we get to really appreciate and move into. And I had to check myself because I'm not somebody who complains or whines, or because that honestly, that doesn't solve anything. And it just keeps you in a negative state, doesn't allow you to move forward. And yet over the last week or two, I found myself, just to be honest and put myself out there, I found myself complaining. And I'm like, this is not me. So when I heard that quote, trade your expectations for appreciation, I instantly made a decision that I am going to start trading expectations of when something's supposed to be done, or someone dropped the ball and they didn't complete a project, or they didn't show up to the job site, or now it's going to cost us X amount of thousands of dollars more. Putting the expectations to the side and just appreciating that I'm in the position where I can spend the last 2 weeks and just focus on the project, or that I have the financial wherewithal to be able to go over budget. Not that anybody wants to go over budget, obviously, but just leaning into that appreciation, that gratitude versus complaining about the things that are not going well. And I shared this with my family not too long ago. I said, I caught myself in just a negative frame of mind. I was sharing something was going wrong with the plumbing in the master bathroom. And I said, I feel like an idiot right now because talk about first world problems. There's people in the Ukraine that are dying. Literally, there's a war right now. And there's people that I've met in Guatemala that don't know where their next meal is coming from. We still have some family in Cuba that doesn't always have water to take a shower with. And you think of those things and it always just tends to put things in perspective. Now, that's not to necessarily diminish what I'm going through, because your problems are still your problems, but every problem has a solution. And I learned years ago that if you could stroke a check, if you could pay for something, you can make a lot of problems go away. Now, that doesn't necessarily make it fun, and there's learning lessons in this process for me for sure, and I'm growing, but I wanted to just go ahead and share that I have those moments too. And I caught myself going down this path and this pattern of complaining. Part of me being very transparent with you here is it acts as a form of accountability for myself as well. And when I share this with tens of thousands of people that listen to this podcast, it levels me up. And I realized that, hey, I have to grow in these areas, and I have to become more patient, and I have to trade my expectation for appreciation. The other things, as we start to kind of wind this show down, this is going to be short and sweet. Along those lines, one of the things that Tony was sharing is we're all going to feel suffering. We're all going to feel pain. We're all going to be let down by someone or by something. But allow yourself 90 seconds to experience that pain and suffering, then take a deep breath and literally let it go, release it, and then take the next 90 seconds. This is what I hadn't heard before. There's people like Mel Robbins, the author of the book, I think it's called The 5 Minute Rule, where she basically gives herself a certain period of time to experience that pain, feel bad for herself, whatever negative emotion she wants to feel, and then she releases it. She lets it go. Well, that's kind of what Tony's talking about here in his book, Life Force. But what I hadn't heard is the next thing where he says, since you're going to take those 90 seconds to feel whatever you got to feel, go through whatever you got to go through, now take the next 90 seconds after you've taken a deep breath, after you inhale and exhale, take 90 seconds to focus on what's right about the situation, express gratitude, focus on what you have to do to solve the problem, right? And that's one of the things that I'm really thinking about as I'm being challenged and being pushed by this rehab. And granted, understand that I've done rehabs in the past, not my cup of tea. I don't particularly enjoy them. But when it's your house, you're that much more invested, right? You want everything to come out as perfect as possible. So hopefully those two things that I shared with you, trading your expectation for appreciation, tying it in with a personal story, you can take that and apply it in your life. Because I guarantee you, I don't guarantee very many things, but the one thing I can guarantee, if you're listening to this podcast, you've experienced pain. You've experienced suffering. You've experienced setback. You've probably complained at one point or another. Just like I don't consider myself a complainer, and lately I've been in that state. But again, I'm sharing that with you because I know you can relate. B, I want to hold myself accountable and let you know that I'm choosing to now replace that expectation I have with appreciation. And I'm giving myself 90 seconds to feel what I got to feel, take a deep breath, and then replace that suffering, that pain, that frustration with gratitude, with focusing on what's right, which will then allow you to figure out how to solve the problem or who you need to tap on the shoulder to help you solve the problem. So remember 3 things that, just to kind of tie this all in, 3 things that can ultimately shape your life. Number 1, what are you focusing on, right? What is it that you're focusing on at this moment? Number 2, what's the meaning that you're giving that very thing? Things happen in our lives and we always give it a meaning. That's one of the things I share with my daughter, right? She doesn't compete well. She doesn't do well in a competition. Well, what's the meaning that she's giving that thing? And then reframing it to something that's more empowering. And then number 3, the action. What is the action you're going to take? So focus 1, meaning 2, action 3. Decide now that, you're going to focus on the things that are going to get you moving forward, the things towards happiness, towards your goals, towards your vision. What's the meaning that you're giving things? Is it empowering or disempowering? And then lastly, what's the action you're going to take, right? If you're going to go through the pain and suffering, learn something from it, take a breath, and then focus on the solution, focus on taking the right action, working with the right people to solve the problem. One quick plug that I want to really direct your attention to, www.checkerc.com. checkerc.com. I'll link up in the show notes, but I had a gentleman, Josh, and his last name is hard to pronounce, but he's one of the owners of this company that works with entrepreneurs who have or had employees in 2020 and 2021. And they do all the heavy lifting to see if you qualify to get you the employee retention credit, which is money back that you will get from the treasury. It's not a loan that has to be paid back. If you qualify, if you had employees, W-2 employees in 2020, 2021, I'm getting a nice chunk of change back. Several investors, people in our mastermind, people that I know are also getting money back. So take the 5 to 10 minutes it takes to see if you qualify. Again, their team does all the heavy lifting. Doesn't cost you anything up front. In fact, they only get paid a small percentage of what they're able to get you if you get paid and when you get paid. So check ERC.com. It's just been a really cool thing to help business owners get money back that is sitting on the sidelines waiting for it. So check ERC.com. Have an amazing day, and I will talk to you soon. Take care. All right, my friend, I hope you enjoyed that Flip Empire episode and got a lot of value out of it. Make sure to check the show notes page for any resources that were mentioned. And speaking of resources, honestly, I don't think I've done the best job of sharing with you my top curated, highly recommended tools and resources that I use in my business or have used in my business. In some cases, these are affiliate relationships with people that I highly trust and respect. And I know these tools and resources can help you and your business go to the next level. And as an ethical bribe, if you decide to try out one of these resources using my link, I will go ahead and send you an unadvertised bonus. I'll send you something of high value. All you got to do is shoot me an email, alex@flipempire.com. Go ahead and let me know that you that you tried out this resource, and however I can help you getting started with that, chances are that I know it very, very well and currently use it or have used it. So make sure to check that out, flipempire.com/resources. And if I can be of help or service to you in any way, just shoot me an email, alex@flipempire.com, and I will do anything I can for you. Have an amazing day, and I'll catch you on the next show.